Hello, my name is Don Randolph. I want to welcome you to Fireside Chats with Veterans. I am here with Mr. Lewis Ross, and Mr. Ross was in the Army Air Corps, so he was in the Air Corps before there was an Air Force. Mr. Ross, thank you very much for doing this, and thank you for being here with me today.
My pleasure.
I'd like to start out just by asking you where you went into the service, or what were the circumstances that brought you into the Army Air Corps?
Well, I guess circumstances were such that I didn't feel I had any other choice, because when I finished 2 years at David Lipscomb Junior College in Nashville, I was able to get a certificate, and I was teaching in a one-room school called Antioch. It was in Meshack, Kentucky. And I saw what Hitler was doing in overrunning the country, so I knew something was coming off. So I stayed there, and on night that President Roosevelt went on a fireside chat and announced that Pearl Harbor had been attacked by the Japanese. Well, I said that made up my mind. I didn't want the Japanese in this country and becoming to speak Japanese there, and maybe a lot of our citizens killed. So I decided I didn't have but one choice, and that was to do what was necessary to stop him. So I volunteered.
You volunteered?
Yeah, the next day into the Army Air Force.
Okay. So where did you enter the Army Air Force, or what did you go through a processing?
One additional thing that I'd always been impressed by the soldiers that had protected this country and its freedom. And I had a background in my genealogy of this. One of my great uncles fought in the Revolutionary War. He was a lieutenant from Pennsylvania. And my dad was a Navy person in World War I. So I had that background, so there wasn't any question. But I decided the Air Force was for me.
Okay.
And I went to Louisville and volunteered and signed up for the cadet program. I'd been an avid reader of The Lone Eagle and a lot of other.
That inspired you.
Yeah, that inspired me. So I decided I wanted to go and become a pilot.
Okay.
And that was my goal. But when I got into Sad Sack, they call it, San Antonio.
Okay.
And a group on a cattle cars train took us from Columbus, Ohio, down to San Antonio, Texas, and that's where we were in basic.
Okay.
And it was a good experience to be trained like they trained us, disciplined us, and I guess eating my mother and grandmother's food and a lot of sweets. I weighed 192 when I went in, but they had me down to about 165 before.
By the time you left San Antonio?
25-mile hikes with backpacks and all kind of calisthenics, and just a lot of training. That was good training, though.
Yeah. And San Antonio at that time, they didn't have that many facilities. There were no barracks. Is that right? So did you sleep in tents at the time, or did you have barracks?
I think we had barracks.
You did have barracks then?
Yeah,
okay.
when I was there.
Okay, so where did you go from San Antonio? Did you do all your training there, or did you have some field training also?
They decided after they gave us a bunch of tests, and I guess the need basis, instead of sending me to pilot school, I had a lot of math in college. And that's what navigation's based on, so they sent me to navigation school.
Okay.
And I went to Hondo, Texas. And as it turned out, further along I'll explain to you, that was a thing that saved my life, my training there. But
Okay.
as it happened, again, they got too much in the pipeline for one area and not enough in another. So they, I guess they called it, washed us out, a bunch of us, and sent us to different schools. And I was sent to radio operators and communication school in St. Louis.
Okay.
Scott Field there, and I spent several months there. And an interesting thing happened to me while I was there. I was on 11 to 7 and taking code, Morse code.
Is this 11 in the morning till? Was that 11
midnight?
11 at night to 7 in the morning?
7 in the morning. And I'd be trying to sleep in the day, and a lot of people would be making noise. In fact, I got stepped on by people trying to climb up while I was asleep. But anyway, along in my training, a funny thing happened. The sergeant that was teaching us, that was just going drilling me and did. So I kind of fell asleep, and he had me stand up, and I stood up and I fell asleep again standing up. He said, "I believe we better let him sit down before he hurts
Falls
himself."
over.
But right after that, I got a 24-hour pass to go into St. Louis. And I had plans. I was going to register at the hotel, take a nap, and go out and eat and see a movie and come back and get a good night's sleep and rest some, of which I wasn't able to do at camp too much.
Right.
Well, I lay down with my hat and my boots and all my Army uniform on top of the bedspread. I didn't even get under it. Guess when I woke up?
Just before you were supposed to go back?
Yes.
Really?
24 hours. I got on the phone in the room and called down at the office, and I said, "What day is this?" And they told me. I said, "Well, what time is it?" My watch had been...
You obviously needed to sleep for a little.
Yeah, I knew I'd been asleep longer than 30 minutes, but it read 4:30.
But it probably seemed like 30
I
minutes.
laid down at 4 o'clock.
My.
I guess the maids really wondered about what's going on. He must be dead. Put a mirror over his face, see if he can fog it.
Oh, goodness.
But
Well, how long were you there in St. Louis?
I was there 18 months.
18 months, okay. And,
And
where did you go from there?
After I finished there, they sent us to Topeka, Kansas to crew up.
Okay.
But before we crewed up, I'd gone out, finished my training there, and they sent us all to Yuma, Arizona, right on the desert between California and Arizona.
Yep.
And they had B-17s there, and we had to get our gunnery training in. And we'd be in the front turret, nose turret of the B-17, and a target would pop up, and we had to see if we could hit it.
Okay.
And because everything we'd shoot at in the air was going to be moving.
Right, right.
And I qualified as a sharpshooter, I guess,
Okay.
because I'd been killing rabbits back on the farm.
You had practice taking aim. And,
I had to take aim ahead of that rabbit, just
and
like
lead
I
him, lead him a little
did.
bit.
Lead him a little, is right.
Now, were these planes flying whenever you did your target practice, or was it
Oh,
a
they're
station?
in the air.
In the air shooting,
They're
okay.
flying too. They were flying, and targets were flying,
Okay.
popping up. So
Wow.
that gave us good training for the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sent us to Topeka, Kansas to crew up. And I was in an unusual group. I was trained in 36 crews were trained
Mm-hmm.
to take radar to bomb and navigate with and
Okay.
test it. It had never been tried before.
Mhm.
It just been, they had developed and but not tested.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted the 36 crews to go over and test it. And to test it, they'd send us on overnight missions to behind enemy lines
Mm-hmm.
to gather information. So
Mm-hmm.
they told us that our chances of coming back were slim to none because
Mhm.
we were on suicide missions and we were expendable. Their
Mhm.
main purpose of sending us was to test radar and to get information. We were going back to the China coast there to the island of Formosa,
Okay.
back when the war was going on in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And so we knew what we was going into, but we were kept a secret.
Now,
that-
whenever you crewed up, as you say, did you have the same crew all the way over
Same
to?
crew.
Okay.
We flew our own plane over since they we had specially equipped
Mhm.
radar planes.
Okay.
And we flew it first. We got some training in what we could expect later on. They sent us to Boise, Idaho,
Okay.
and we'd go out on a mission like to Salem, Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
but they had Navy planes would come up and simulated attacks on us, just like we would have in real
Okay.
combat.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to shoot them down, but we had to use guns equipped with film, so they could tell.
Oh, okay. So you were shooting them with taking pictures, not
Yeah.
with bullets.
Not
yeah.
with
Right.
bullets.
Mhm.
And they could tell what we did, but then we'd fly missions. We went to Fairfax, Virginia, and we'd operate off of that base and fly missions in Miami and New York and different places to get
Mhm.
us ready. And then they sent us back off of leave. They gave us a leave then to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And there we were picking up our own plane and flying to Hawaii
Okay.
as the first step. But we were going, they were had a schedule to go into the right front lines. We didn't have any base. It was just wherever
Mm-hmm.
we need to operate off of.
Your plane was your base.
At
You-
our base. We
Mhm.
had cots and we carried on it and mosquito nets, and when we'd land on a strip on an island, we'd just put down the cots under the wings of the plane.
Mhm. Okay.
And we carried different C rations and K
Mhm.
rations to eat and put mosquito nets around us.
Wow.
But
I bet that was really something to sleep underneath the wing of the plane and some of those remote
it
locations.
it was some experience.
Hmm.
I remember I thought I'd come to the end of the world. We didn't more than land in Hawaii, and we went to Hickam Air Force Base there
Mhm.
to get our duffel bags and some flight suits and whatever we needed issued.
Mhm.
Went to bed, but at 2 o'clock we were awaked and told to get out and hit the planes and take off. That the Japanese were en route to Hawaii at that time, and they didn't want to take a chance. And we headed for Christmas Island, and we had the island hop till we got the last place was they wanted us. It was Borneo. I mean New Guinea. I remember that well. It's north of Australia, and
Now, flying around the South Pacific was very important. The navigator's job was very important because you sure didn't want to get lost.
that's right.
in
We
the
didn't
South
have
Pacific.
anything to check us on except the stars. And
So you navigated by the stars to do your island hopping.
yeah,
Wow.
and most of our flying was at night. And you got very close to God because there's nothing but you and that sky above you and darkness below you. So,
Wow.
and I know I'm here today because of the grace of God, because I'll explain to you why. But when we went in, a plane motor developed a little fire, and we had to land in a fighter strip in Finchhoven, New Guinea there. And when we waited there, and we happened to be there at the rainy season. And it rained 24 hours a day there in the tropics. I mean, just poured.
Non-stop.
And that was Thanksgiving that we got there. And I thought, oh my goodness, here you are eating K rations for Thanksgiving. I know my folks were eating turkey and all the good things going on back in Kentucky where I grew up.
And those sea rations
We
are-
waded through mud about that deep to
Yeah.
get down to they put the mess hall and the barracks up in the mountains because they knew Japanese would be bumming
down below.
down below. And we finally, they flew repair parts from New Guinea, from Hawaii to New Guinea here for us and fixed it. And we then flew into New Guinea there on the coast. And my first flight, I'd wondered what it was going to be like. But it was called the Milk Run. We didn't have any problem. We didn't have any fighters or any ack-ack. We just dropped our bums and came back. But that was a prelude of something bad to happen. We took off from one of the outlying islands, and they were sending us to Formosa to check it all out. Well, that is a 24-hour mission, and I had responsibility every 30 minutes for the whole 24 hours.
Okay.
So now the opposite. I had to stay awake
Had to stay
24
awake.
hours. But back, I remember the days when I slept 24 hours. But we timed it such a way we landed in Leyte soon after the American forces had taken over Leyte, the southernmost Philippine island, and they had laid down metal strips to make a Navy CBs had.
Okay.
So we had landing strips
Got a place
for
to
the
land.
B-24s, the 4-engine twin tail. You're familiar with.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember seeing those.
Well, we landed there and ate some sea rations, and they gassed us up. And we took off, and we got over Formosa about, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. And when we got there, to use the expression, all hell broke loose. There's 20, I counted 20 searchlights on our plane, and we were
Wow.
the sole person there. And at first, they had fighters up, so we was fighting them off. Then we had ack-ack. They'd peel off so that they could shoot ack-ack. Fortunately, we were above any accuracy for the ack-ack.
Okay, so you had enough altitude that it wasn't reaching you.
It
just,
wasn't reaching us. We're
okay.
flying at 30,000 feet.
Okay.
And at that point, we had to protect ourselves from the cold, so we had a flight suit with thick wool, and the outside of it was leather. And we had the oxygen mask that we had to wear, and big gloves, because it's so cold at that time. We had pictures of some crew members in a plane that had touched the 50 caliber metal, and at that temperature, it was so cold they pulled
They pull skin off?
and they just, all the skin, they just had bones showing.
Wow.
So we knew what we had to do. But we had an engine shot out, and we went across the island. It's up and down, north and south, and we went in from west to east across. We'd been briefed before we left by the intelligence. They said, you have a right to know. We've checked out, and you're in the most nerve-wracking, dangerous branch of the service. Nobody, Army, Marines, or anybody, is in as dangerous
as you are.
as that situation as we were, because what we had to do is get back a message on what we'd seen, the way of what they had, if they had radar, if they had the planes and the installations of, and it seems that the Japanese had figured we'd go for the mainland and skip over that. So they put all their fuel supply, refineries and aluminum plants there on Formosa. And we were able to see that.
Okay.
But
so you were really like flying reconnaissance in a way.
yeah,
as
that's
well
what
as
it
doing
was.
some-
It was reconnaissance flight.
Okay.
Intelligence gathering. And we did get across, but some way the navigator at that point got mixed up, and some of his equipment was shot up. And I was on the radio, unaware of what was going on, but when I looked up, I saw all the crew with parachutes on and the bomb bay door open, so they're ready
To bail out.
bail out. I said, oh, no, we can't do that because nobody will ever find us. And I'd say I'd rather go in, but first I've been trained, let me try something. But they had cross-trained us. I got training in weather reporting and because of what we were going into, and first aid, and I got some pilot training, which I'd always wanted, and I already had navigation training behind me, so and gunnery, so I was able to perform nearly anywhere. So I got up with the pilot and talked them into stay, and they said, well, would you lead us in prayer then? So they all gathered around me on the flight deck there, and I led us in prayer. But I never flew a mission that I didn't take it to the Lord. And I said, I need you bad. But if you want me now, I'm ready to go. But if you got more use for me, I'm ready to stay and do my part with you. So it's up to you. And we were headed when, at that point, I got on the radio, and we were so far away that the normal range, we couldn't reach any friendly stations. And decided that I had one of two choices. I wasn't going to get through, or I could go into the danger zone and get enough power to reach the base. So I made that choice. And,
Okay.
And we had about 5 alternate ways of reaching our base. Preset in the radio, they had a big thing about that what long and about that tall that we stuck in it, and that pre-programmed to a radio station.
Okay.
And I went back through the Bombay walk between the two, and we got another one. The first one, the Japanese were jamming.
Oh, okay.
The second, they were jamming. The third, they were jamming.
Oof.
The fourth was the last one we had. I was able to get
You got through?
I got through. And I got what they call a QDM. That's where I send out a signal, and they get the signal, and they turn till it gets null. And when it goes to null, that's the direction that we are from them.
Okay.
And they gave me their number, and I had to go and transpose that over into what their signal would be from me.
Okay.
And
But that gave you the direction to navigate toward.
yeah, but I wasn't through yet. In my training, I wanted to make sure, so I had a Mercator map there, and I plotted where the station was and a line coming out. Where that was crossed, if I could get another signal through, would be where we were.
Okay.
Well, I got a second one, and it crossed, and I knew where we were, but I didn't want to take any chances. I got a third, and it coincided.
And that's all you need if you
And
have
I
3
said,
circles
"Now
they
we
intersect.
know."
Exactly where you are.
And the plane, I gave it to the pilot and the co-pilot, and that's where we started flying.
Okay.
But we'd sent out a SOS before that, save our ship. That's the first message I sent. But then when we got that, I looked, we were headed for 2,000 miles of open sea.
Wow.
And
Had you kept on that course,
as we kept on that course.
yeah,
But
wouldn't have been.
But getting it, and I've been trained all through, and I took it seriously. And I got, every 30 minutes, I got a new heading and plotted where we were, because we was being a wind drift, you know,
Yes.
higher altitudes, and we've been drifted off course. But we came in close enough that flight engineer couldn't see any gasoline as we were approaching the base.
Wow.
I told him we couldn't cycle the place. We had to come downwind, which we wasn't recommended, but we didn't have any choice.
No gas.
No gas.
Yeah.
Well, as it turned out, we landed, and halfway down the airstrip, all motors cut out. They had to come out with a Caterpillar and pull us out.
So you glided in, completely out of gas.
Well, it went out. The last part as we hit the runway.
My goodness. Wow.
But I guess I didn't realize it at the time because I was so busy in what I was doing. But my crew put me in for the Air Medal for saving the plane and the
The
crew.
whole crew.
And General Crabb that selected me after that to be his radio communications person.
So
when
you got a
he'd fly.
promotion out of it.
And he could pick
He wanted you
anybody
on
he
his
wanted. And he pinned the Air Medal on me in Clark Field just before I was ready to come back to the States.
Wow.
But I did survive 47 missions.
47
And
missions.
most of them were suicide missions. I
Wow.
expected to come back. And To show you how the Lord was with me, and without His help, I wouldn't be here. Because after that experience, soon after, we were scheduled to go on another flight, and the plane we were scheduled to fly on, and we had in the pre-flight checkup, I found out equipment wasn't working just right, and they switched us over to another, and the crew that's supposed to fly in that plane that they switched us to was switched to our plane, since they didn't need that like we did. They weren't trained to use it. But that plane blew up right after it took off.
My goodness.
And loaded with bombs and,
Oh my.
and high octane gasoline.
Wow.
And that happened again. So the fifth mission that we survived, that's one time that we survived that. We survived another experience like that. And then towards the end of our time over there, we're supposed to have gotten a return back for R&R after 25 missions. But they didn't have anybody to fill in for us. We're just losing them
Too quickly.
right along, time after time. That 36 was soon 30, then it was 24, and it got down to, we didn't get a chance to come back till after 47 missions. And but we had about 5 missions to go, and another, Holy Spirit of God had to arrange that, because I couldn't. We were given a chance to go up to Clark Field for rest and recreation for a few days. And I said, I talked to the crew and I said, I don't know how you feel, but I hate to go up there and think I've got to come back and face 5 more. I said, I'd rather
just finish them.
Finish them. Well, that's the best decision we ever made in our life, because another crew took our place in a C-47, and that plane hadn't been found or heard from to this day.
Wow.
It was crashed.
Goodness.
And
now, did you spend a lot of the time? Where was your base of operation? Was it in the Philippines?
then the last part of it, was in the Philippines.
Okay.
And we had, on the last flight, we were leading the bombing group too. And we were the lead plane, and they were going to drop their bombs out on our radar. And what we did, our bombardier, and our bombs didn't release. So the pilot made a decision we had to go back. We didn't want to go back with those bombs.
Yeah.
So I said, oh no, we got through with a whole group of them. How are we going to get through with one? I said, that's going to be something to go 46 missions and get shot down on
the last one.
47. But we had a lot of not cellophane, but aluminum things that we carried in the plane. And that was something that showed up on radar down the Japanese as just like a plane would.
It's chaff, yes.
Chaff, yeah. So we got busy and I helped, and we went back to bombing bay and just out the window through a whole mess of them.
Yeah.
And I looked back and they were shooting the tar out of it. But fortunately not us.
A lot of people don't realize with airplanes, that is one of the most effective measures, countermeasures against surface-to-air missiles or even air-to-air missiles that are radar-guided is chaff, which is basically shredded aluminum.
Yeah.
And the sensors or the radar on those weapons, they see that chaff and they think it's a plane, and so they go after that instead of after the actual plane. So well, that's a wonderful, that's a very interesting story.
But then I went up to the after the 47th, I went up to Clark Field and waited, I guess, close to 3 weeks or something to get a shipload of people. They didn't fly us back to the States back then. We had to catch a Liberty ship from there back to the States, and that took 30 days.
To get back took 30 days.
From Manila to San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
And this was still the 4th or 5th close shave, because we left Manila on a Sunday night, and during the early part of the night, we had a submarine alert.
Oh, my.
And we all got out and prepared for take countermeasures if we were being attacked. But you remember the story of the USS Indianapolis that took
yes, with the sailors.
A-bombs over?
Yes.
Well, it took the bombs over, and then it was headed back 30 minutes behind us.
Really?
And on that same night,
they got hit.
The Japanese torpedoed that ship, and it was, you read the story of it.
And many of those sailors from the Indianapolis, they survived. Some of them did in the water for days.
For days,
but
sharks and
sharks
everything.
got, yes. It was not a good. If anyone's ever, if you get a chance to look up the story of the USS Indianapolis, it's a harrowing tale. And the fact that you were there, just
I was right ahead of it.
Wow.
In 30 minutes, and that so happened that Indianapolis was behind us, and we'd have been the victim.
Goodness gracious.
But
so what happened when you got back to the United States?
Well, after that last mission, when I got back to the base, I kissed terra firma. I said, no more. So it was, I think I wouldn't get in a plane again for several years before I died. But we got back to the biggest celebration you ever heard of in your life. It wasn't to receive us. Word had received that the Japanese had surrendered.
Wow, so you got back just right on VJ Day.
I landed in the harbor of Los Angeles when all the horns were going, the water was being sprayed in the air.
Wow.
Celebration. But when I got out to the PX after we landed, I got something I'd been longing to get for a long time. I ordered a sundae, and I told the PX person, I said, don't spare any expense. Just give me the bananas and the whole works. And
you got an ice cream sundae, the whole
I did.
works.
No, I got not just a bowl. I got a whole big plate, platter. I'd missed that for a year out in the South Pacific.
It's amazing the things that you miss while you're going.
Oh, it is.
So did you have more time to serve after that, or did you come home?
Well, I had an unusual experience there again. They had time served and battles that you were in. You got points. Well, I got enough points on all of that I didn't even need time, but I was one of the first ones to get out.
Okay.
But before that, I rode a train from West Coast to Indianapolis. That's where a central point for everybody like us were. And then I caught a bus down to Louisville and down to where I live. And I got a 30-day pass to rest up. And then when that 30 days was up, I reported back to San Antonio, and I had another 30 days at Randolph Air Force Base. And I had a 24-hour pass, and I had a cook that was set to cook anything I wanted at any time, to put a little weight on. I weighed 147 when I got back. Sea rations didn't put anything on.
Didn't put anything on.
Didn't put anything on me. But then I had enough. They sent me back to Indianapolis and discharged me on the basis of points.
Okay.
So I was one of the first ones to get back.
Okay. So when you got home, what can you tell us a little bit about what you did when you first got home?
Yeah, I just stayed with my folks. I had a grandmother and a mother and a father and 2 brothers and a sister. And I just stayed there and ate their good cooking, and I didn't want to move. I didn't want to go any place. Just
Home sweet home.
home sweet home, and to be back after all of that, and mission accomplished. And looking back, it was a great experience, and it made a man out of me. I went in as a boy and I came out as a man. But you and I were talking a while ago. If time came to it, I wouldn't hesitate to, at my age, to get out and do what I could to
Fight
help
again.
support the troops or save
defense
this
of
country
freedom and-
again. The freedom we enjoy is not enjoyed in this lifestyle any place much in the world, and it's worth defending.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. Well, Mr. Ross, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you for
welcome.
sharing your story.
You're
I really
welcome.
do appreciate it.
You're
That was a
welcome.
great story. And thank you for watching. Again, this is Fireside Chats with Veterans. My name is Don Randolph. I want to thank Ben Lomond Television. I want to thank the Sparta Rotary Club. And again, if you get a chance, the new Veterans Park in downtown Sparta, you get a chance to drop by and take a look. Thank you very much again for watching.